Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Cerberus at the Improv. I am Payman Ascari. I'm joined today by Mr. Timothy Knight. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's a nice sunny day today. I had my monthly shower. Things are good.
It's horrifying to hear that. Tim, how are you keeping up in good spirits? I'm not seeing any wacky names for you this week.
No wacky names. I was thinking of doing some, but it was very hard to figure out because it's that time of year and my brain doesn't work right. So it became very convoluted, so I figured I better not do it.
Well, at least you can still have a cool tie.
Have you seen my tie?
It's the rabbit guys, right?
It's the rabbits. See? I have the rabbits.
Where's the rabbit hole?
See? Well, that's he's sitting on it.
Oh.
Don't feed him straight lines, Andre. Andre Maloche is also in house. How are you doing, Andre?
I'm doing fine on this gloomy day in Quebec, and I'm still well, spring is coming very slowly, but I think spring will arrive much faster than an election in Canada, if it comes. You know, Groundhog Day. The groundhog said that the groundhog would prefer to have 6 more weeks of winter than 6 more weeks of winter instead of 6 more weeks of the Liberals.
Right. I'll take 6 more weeks of winter instead of an early election. Thank you very much.
Good.
Andre, any wacky stories, farm stories? Your cat up to any more shenanigans?
Well, yesterday again, my cat caught another squirrel. And when he ate half of it, he left the rest near the back door. And at 10 o'clock, I was washing the dishes, and a fox came to pick up the rest. And he was running. I said, "What is it?" So it was my fault. My wife took some pictures. So we're just waiting for the bear.
Right.
Next step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the forest here, and I'm freaking out because as we get closer to the snow melting, I know I'm going to run into some bears. They freak me out, man. There's nothing more scary than turning around a corner and this big brown bear.
Well, what about a politician?
I have the same problem here downtown. Go around the corner and I just see a great big brown bear.
Gay joke?
No. No.
Did I misread that?
Maybe
no, it was censored. It was censored.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
We're live. It's true.
We're keeping an eye on you.
Yeah, we won't be live for much longer if I keep making comments like that.
Yeah, especially because it's 3 minutes in and we've talked about nothing.
And we relate too. Okay, Tim, you're going to get us started this time.
I was going to get us started. We wanted to talk about tariffs because, what's more entertaining than tariffs right now? And then thought, well, how do we expand on this and make it a little more academic? So we thought we needed to also, there's been chatter about boycotts because liquor boards have been taking liquor off the shelf and putting it back on. And so this is, well, so we thought, how does all this play in together? So what we realized is we have 3 different types of political actions happening right now. So we have the tariffs, right? So we also have sanctions. So sanctions is an action against a quote unquote oppressor or whatnot. And sanctions is a form of Canada saying, you're doing this to us, we're doing this to you. And then of course the boycotts are at the civilian level, where the civilians are saying, oh, we're not doing this, or we're not gonna buy this, or we're not gonna buy that. So at 3 different levels, we have an entire nation participating in a very, very old game. Right, so ergo the title of today's show, which is the first one I believe we called it was protect, and that's a tariff. You're protecting yourself by applying a tariff to incoming product, so imports. And then sanctions is we are punishing an external agent. So Canada, this retaliatory tariff concept is a form of sanction, which is a punishment. So that's the second P. And the third P is, well, the other one, scroll up a little, I forgot.
Protest?
Thank you. Protest. Yeah, you're right. Protest. So a civilian form of protest on an economic level is to boycott something. We are not buying your stuff, right? So all three of these actions are at play right now in the North American economy at all government levels.
Can I ask a question to you, Tim?
Mm.
When you talk about boycott, does that mean that Doug Ford, François Legault, and David Eby are civilians?
This is, I'm making very broad references, and of course this is like a Venn diagram, right? So think about it, right? So I'm making it up on the fly. Work with me here, right?
Good.
So now I have a 3-circle Venn diagram where there's going to be crossover.
I want to trap you in the corner just to see how you will react.
You're just trying to. We're keeping this academic until I screw up. Then we'll just drop it back down to blue collar. Right? So I'm working on a theory here. Right. So the theory is we have 3 circles: tariffs, sanctions, and boycotts, and different agents at different levels within the government, agents or agencies, are able to execute any one of these at pretty much simultaneously. So the Eby and the Quebec Premier and whatnot, are they boycotting? Yes, but it's because of their position. It's more a sanctioning action, right? Because they can't tariff. They've already brought the product. The product is already on Canadian shelves, right? So it's similar to a fair number of Canadians boycotting Starbucks or boycotting McDonald's or et cetera, boycotting Target, et cetera,
Pfizer too?
Pfizer, et cetera, right? So it's civilian.
That would be a problem in Quebec.
Yeah, the civilian doing is strictly a boycott, but a government can move back and forth, right? So then that's the beauty of me very quickly and cleverly adopting a Venn diagram. So which means later on I have to go make a graphic.
Shall I ask ChatGPT to make the Venn diagram while the audience waits?
No, we can have Andre can do something and chat about something, and you can go and make the Venn diagram, and then we'll just put my name on it so I get credit, because I'd like to get paid for something.
Wouldn't we all?
Right.
I just listening from what you said, I would say what Eby and Ford did sounds more like a sanction. It's a government imposed restriction.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. But
but you punish
the newspapers in the common language will use terms like protest and boycott. A boycott is a type of protest. It's an economic protest.
Yeah, but Tim, when you mentioned boycotts, civilians, they boycott a product, and then you have sanctions. But when I saw the 3 prime ministers this week asking to remove the alcohol and the American alcohol and the wine, they're punishing their own civilian, their own citizens.
That's right.
It's nice. Even after it's already paid on.
That's right. Yeah.
And you have people who follow the boycott.
Yeah. Every retailer in Canada, if it's on the shelf, it's already been paid for.
Yeah. So why
right?
Why not consume it?
Yeah. Just it's under the wire, folks. You're safe. Just go buy it, right? And again, it's people are they hear the word tariff, they go, oh, I wonder what that is. So they hop on something as simple as Google or grab a dictionary off their bookshelf and look up the
They don't
word.
have any dictionary anymore,
right?
They don't have a bookshelf.
Don't have a bookshelf.
They don't have bookshelf. Exactly.
Boycott my bookshelf. So I'm boycotting knowledge. But
before getting on, I just wanted to say it's so alarming that the government can do this. Like, these businesses own those products. They were the owners of that product, and the government comes in and says,
No.
The liquor boards are run by government.
LCBO, it is owned by the government. SRQ in Quebec, it is owned by the government.
BCLC.
In BC, how is it? It's the same thing?
BCLC. British Columbia Liquor Commission.
So Liquor Commission. So
wait.
Everything is owned by the government.
Yeah, okay, that's a separate issue. That's a bigger issue. But in BC, you have private liquor stores. But then, in Ontario, I would say to somebody, be careful what you wish for. Like, this is what happens when you have too many regulations.
Yeah.
They can come in and do this to you.
Yeah. There are private liquor retailers in British Columbia, but who did they get their license from? the liquor board.
I get that, but
Well, you cannot
Yeah.
you cannot buy, for example, in Quebec, you cannot buy wine unless it is cheap wine in the supermarket. But you cannot buy wine or import wine. Private importation for restaurant, for example, has to go through SAQ, Société des Alcools du Québec. They cannot import wine from another country if it doesn't go through SAQ. This is everything goes through this tunnel where they always take. They first of all they control everything and they pick up taxes.
You could probably get it through Oka.
Oka, Kanasitake,
Right.
yes,
So
most probably.
those are private arrangements, and
Maybe
probably
in Ottawa too,
right
with the private jet,
there with the private jet.
or the plane of the prime minister when it
plane of the
came
prime
from
minister.
India, and
Okay.
it was searched because they were suspecting that he had cocaine.
okay. I was
The
going to
delivery
say
was going to Ukraine. So.
it's easier to bring cocaine than to bring red wine.
Yeah.
That's more paperwork.
Yes.
Or fentanyl.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject. How many? Does anyone know how many thousand people die every year in just BC alone from fentanyl?
During COVID, after the CERB started being distributed to homeless people in BC, because they were doing that, I was seeing numbers in the summertime of 2021 that were 150 to 175 across the province per month. Drug overdoses. Opioid crisis was language that was being used during the mandates, and that word has vanished from publication language.
Well, many things vanished during the what I call the health tyranny. Autopsy were not permitted.
Yeah.
And you can look at now. You go on the website of the Quebec government, the healthcare website, and you cannot have data for suicide.
No
We
longer
had to-
publishing it.
You don't have the data anymore. They
We
hide
don't
it.
know. So they have it.
They have it. Of
We
course
don't
they
have access to. The public has no access.
It's like USA idea.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say sometimes they hide it, other times they completely destroy it. Like
So that's
depending on the political agenda.
well, that's the suspicion with what happened yesterday or late yesterday with
what was the
the
agency?
global affairs database vanishing.
All disappeared.
Although I got a couple of people who say they thought they were clever, but I got copy of all of it before. So what they did was they shut down the portal for the public to get to it, and then I suppose moved it. I would never delete something like that. I would just move it. Right?
This is
Go
ahead.
they with this database you always have the internet archive, and many people yesterday in Quebec they published the archive.
But they're deleting the archive too.
Oh yes, of course. Well, wouldn't you delete the evidence of your crime?
Well, yeah, I would if I was like a mass murderer, which is what our government is turning into. That they're deleting these files like communist China after Trump said you got 48 hours to get out of Texas.
Well, if the detective is patient enough, he will wait because the criminal will always come back.
Scene of the crime.
And on the scene of the crime. Thank you.
But they do.
They do.
This is Jungian because the criminal wants credit for his crime.
He wants credit. Yes.
Yeah, he wants credit. I mean, this is Hollywood is, the last 3 minutes of a hero-villain exchange is the villain explaining with great pride how he managed to accomplish his dastardly deeds.
Check it out. Our
So maybe we got excited for nothing.
I still hate the government, but
well,
maybe I have to find
that's a natural behavior.
It's a natural behavior.
The opposite would be artificial.
What was the line? Be ungovernable.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Let's go jump.
The topic of conversation here is the IMF pressured El Salvador to drop Bitcoin as a sovereign unit of exchange currency. Yeah, I don't know, Andre. What do you think about the IMF having this kind of power?
Well, the IMF is it's a mafia cartel. So we know this since its creation, they always push out, or they always push countries to have reform, democratic reform, and then after that they propose loans if they are if the country privatize some industries. You saw it in Argentina, you saw it in Venezuela, you saw it in many countries in Eastern Europe, Romania, Kazakhstan, and more early now Ukraine. But it was funny because Ukraine is supposed to eliminate corruption, to have loans. It's always a loan. It's never a donation. There's no altruism in here. So the fact that you have somebody who uses Bitcoin, a cryptocurrency, to replace national currency, this goes against the global agenda with what we see often, the CDBC, central bank digital currency. And last year there was a survey in Canada, and 60% of Canadians said they disagreed with digital money, digital currency. So, but they will come back. They will come back with it. It's not finished. The game or the war is just starting. So they will pressure the Salvador to change that. Will they succeed? I think there's a lot of international.
They accepted the loan.
Well, that's the big problem. When you accept the loan, you put your hand in the machine,
and that's a whole generation.
Yes, but you see, all the international organizations now are fading. They're losing their power. You saw the World Health Organization. Everybody wants to get out of it now. And you talk about the IMF, but you can talk about the Bank of International Settlement. So there's a sense of nationalism. They're pushing back against those organizations that are dysfunctional at best, and I would say that they are mafia at worst, because they act like mafia. They push an agenda according to what we call Western values.
Well, look at Greece.
Greece was a very good example. 2001 and 11.
Unbelievable.
And Goldman Sachs at the time falsificated the books, so the Greece could enter in the dead mouse trap with what I call European Union, which is not a union. We know it's a cartel. We saw it that the European Commission is not elected, and they're pressuring all national state.
It's the table beneath the high table.
Well, you look at what happened with Viktor Orban when he started to push back against the sanction against Russia, or Robert Fico in Slovakia, who survived an assassination attempt, and now what is happening in Romania, and in 1 week we will have an election in Germany for the new chancellor. So, and it is I think it is the new assistant of Ursula von der Leyen, who said, if the alternative for Deutschland win the first round, we will just cancel the election.
Wow.
What is next?
Wow. So
AI,
right? So you mentioned that these agencies are crumbling.
I think there's a facade behind that. It's corruption from.
I wonder if they're not molting.
Maybe
becoming something else, whatever the next form is.
Maybe, but they have to change. They have to mutate. But I think it will be more difficult. Look at the BRICS. All the leaders of the BRICS, they said that they were not challenging what Donald Trump is calling the mighty dollar as an international trading currency. They're not challenging it officially. Not officially, they're increasing their bilateral contract, and they're trading not in the US dollar. So of course they're playing this game very slowly, because they cannot, for example, say that the United Nations is not credible anymore. Nobody on the Security Council will leave. You have five countries. You have United States, Great Britain, France, China, and Russia. Nobody will leave because absence they are always wrong. So
under what conditions could the UN collapse?
If the U.S. withdraws from it, as it's pretty much doing.
Well, the World Health Organization, we know the finance of the World Health Organization comes from most of it Bill Gates, China, and United States. So if the United States...
Can I stop you there, Andre?
Yes.
How much of that money that Bill Gates gave came from U.S. aid, do you think?
Well, I don't know, because what's fascinating is you have, again, a man like Bill Gates who can go on every tribune and complain about what is happening. When you look at this, you say, okay, if Donald Trump stops financing the World Health Organization or gets out of it, it means that there's a power grip that is falling. We will see this with other organizations. European Union will collapse. It's a question of time. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. It will collapse because this conservative movement, or maybe we could use populist movement, is growing slowly. Maybe it's good that it's growing slowly, not too fast, because you can have insurrection, you can have a lot of violence and conflict, and maybe we can avoid that. I don't know.
Let's play alternate future for a moment. Let's say that Trump successfully withdraws from the UN, financially, legally, relationally, trade-wise, successfully withdraws. And let's say the unthinkable happens and the People's Party of Canada not only gets into Parliament, but also has a minority government. And then in that condition would also be able to withdraw from the UN because it has stated that they will do that. What happens when you have a North America that has withdrawn from the UN? Would Mexico follow suit? And then would you have a quote unquote free version of a North American Union?
Well, in your question, it's important to make a difference between United Nations and the Security Council. Because the Security Council, those 5 countries, they are the most powerful country, militarily speaking. So if the United States would retreat from the United Nations, would that mean that they retrieve themselves from the Security Council? I don't think so, because you have three superpowers: China, Russia, and the United States. So if maybe they will not retrieve themselves, maybe they will propose to reform it to the agreement of China and Russia, for example. And forget about France. France it's over. I would say Great Britain has more power than France now, power of influence, and they use it a lot. But how they will play this nationalist game, I don't know. It will depend on the world conflict we have now.
Is there a scenario where North America could become a union of free states?
Let me jump in. I'll answer that. Andre answered that last week when he said this is, the U.S. is contracting so that it'll expand later.
Yeah.
I think we all know this. They're regrouping. They want to bring manufacturing back. They want to fix their dollar issue. And then they'll get something, probably the phrase they use is a Monroe Doctrine, so that they're concentrating in North America. If you do that enough, and if you withdraw from enough of these allegiances, like the UN or most of it, the UN becomes completely useless. Maybe it'll stay on the Security Council. Yeah.
It will be an empty shell. They will keep it as a facade to keep a certain discussion, diplomatic discussion. But behind that, people will be like, you have a job, $400,000 US per year with expense, but you do nothing. You don't have any influence anymore.
Easiest job in the world. Tim, we'll go to the next one, but Mr. Kearney is saying, I remember a couple of years ago, European ministers saying they would give Ukraine 30 years to repay its debts. It's a lie. That help is being given. It's all about international usury and power.
Right. And so the language that they're using with Ukraine, they probably used with Greece.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Right.
Perpetual
So
debt.
everything, well, every at this level of business and diplomacy, particularly with this kind of money, and you're able to actually move an entire country by policy. Every relationship formed, every legal document signed, templates the next one. So you start off with some boilerplate concepts in policy books in an office somewhere in a boardroom. Well, let's test this. So they test certain things out with Greece that worked and didn't work. It took about 2 years to make the whole thing to run. Greece was obstinate. They had problems, etc. And there was resistance, and they finally
The
flipped it over.
left was elected, and then they betrayed the people. Yes.
Right. Then we have government. You have election interference. So you have a cultural interference in order to execute. So all of this happens in real time. Meanwhile, you have your your policymakers, your diplomats, your political scientists up in the back rooms going, okay, so this worked, this didn't work. People are likely to bring in your psychologists. What will they do if we do this? What will they do if we do that? And then you modify it. You modify it for the next one. The next one is Ukraine. Who knows? Who will be the next one? Syria?
No, no, no. The next one will be Romania, Moldavia,
There you go.
Kazakhstan. They tried, they tried
So
to
then, so
hit
then
the south border of the
solving-
ex-Soviet Union.
then what they're doing is it's reforming, which means capturing the DMZ, right? All the satellite nations.
Well, yes, and you can talk
So
about
World War 2.0.
Yes, you can talk about Slovakia. When the Ukraine decided to cut the flow of gas through European Union, they starting January 1st, they isolate completely Slovakia. And Robert Fico at the time said, we will start to push against sanctions because you are threatening our sovereignty on the basis of energy. So of course that was a bad move from Ukraine, but still it's a war situation. So there's no bad move. You try something, but what you mentioned, Tim, the DMZ, demilitarized zone.
Mhm.
First of all, it will not happen because if you think about Russia is winning everywhere. So there will not be a demilitarized zone. They will surrender completely, and they will have to acknowledge what Putin was saying in 2018. And look at the international, what is happening now, what is happening in Gaza. So if we go back to the three concepts that you were described so well, protect, punish, and protest.
Yes.
We have this. You mentioned a Venn diagram. I would say a triangle. Those three, and they you
Right.
have elastic behind, and you can pull on one side and
Yeah.
pull on the other side. Some
Yeah.
people like when they started to remove alcohol from the shelf. It's the government that was doing it. They protest or they boycott, and they suggest to people to do the same. So and on the international scene, I think it's the same thing. You have always the alliance between countries, treaties that you can betray all the time. Their signature is it's not they don't sign in blood. Huh? They don't sign in blood. They sign a treaty, but it suits their interests all the time. Look at the Starmer. He went to Ukraine, and he signed a 100-year treaty with Ukraine. Who does that today? It's a show. That was a show in Ukraine. Everybody was laughing at them. Because
Guys.
why? Because Great Britain is infested by woke and so my feeling is that those three concepts, protect, protest, and
Punish.
punish, they will play with this, and we will see the consequences nationally in Canada.
And a government or pollsters or whoever's doing the research and the studying on a plan can very quickly determine the truth of the effect at the consumer level by doing like month over month comparisons over purchasing behavior.
Yes, that's a very good graph.
And those numbers do not lie because those are transactions, right?
Yes.
The media can lie. A poll can be wrong. Pundits, I mean, we talk our heads off. We can be wrong 24 hours from now, right? So, but consumer purchases tells you the truth.
Well,
So
there's an indicator in the United States. It was a French economist that was following this in 2014-15. It's the BLS, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics of the United States, that gives you the level of unemployment. And at the time, they were publishing the level of unemployment in the United States, which was about 5 to 6%. But the problem is in United States, somebody who has 2-part jobs and he's doing, let's say, 10 hours per week, each part job is considered full-time working. He cannot sustain his
That's right.
his family with those 2 jobs,
Yeah.
but he's not considered unemployed.
Yes.
So they were playing with the statistic all the time, and this economist, he started to show the scam. The unemployment rate was more around 12 to 14% instead of 4 or 5. There's a big difference. So
There's
you can
a
play with
difference
it.
between being employed and gainfully employed.
That's it. That's it.
Gainfully employed is not a term anybody uses anymore.
No more. It's like the purchase, the power purchase. What they call I forgot the acronym is they can measure the GDP by the power purchase that is equal. They balanced it. I forgot the expression.
Purchasing power.
Purchasing power, exactly. And it is because if you just look at the GDP, it can be false. You can measure it. It's difficult to compare a country with another country.
Yes.
Economically speaking, you don't have the same industrial process.
Yeah. And the problem is postmodern economists are not using an Adam Smith model anymore.
No.
Right. They've changed the school of thought and the way they interpret the information. So and the effort is to take a boilerplate model and not modify it according to Greece's unique needs or Turkey's unique needs or to Tasmania's unique needs, but to force the country's data into their preferred model.
So moving along, everything has changed so much in the last few days. I mean, we have this episode every week.
Mm-hmm.
We come up with things that have happened in the week. I mean, it's almost pointless to talk about this. We've passed the trading thing.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Canada's dollar.
Yeah.
After they lost their minds, our leaders, and they came out with retaliatory tariffs, the same day or the day after, I think Pierre Poilievre panicked and he released this. He realizes that his campaign is lagging behind vis-a-vis Carney's campaign.
Yes.
So why don't we shift to talking about Pierre Poilievre's chances and his path forward for success?
Well, the Big Blue is still going to win the federal election in Canada. The question is by how much, right? Because now the Liberal numbers are rising again. And so the talk of a renewed coalition is coming back into the conversation again. Ipsos Reid just put out did a new poll from a couple of days ago. And so they're showing that a coalition between the Liberals and the NDP would outflank anything that the Conservatives are trying to do. So if they're moving back into that position again, then Pierre needs to fight for relevance. So he needs another Apple conversation or something.
Andre?
But I have a question for Tim. It is related to Pierre Poilievre, but it's all related to Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau said that he would resign. You think that Mark Carney could become the next prime minister and Trudeau would be the next finance minister? He said he would resign as a prime minister. He didn't say he would not
He
stay.
didn't say he would resign. He said he intends
He
to
intend
resign.
to. So you can
He
imagine.
intends to.
You
All
can
right,
imagine
that's like, I believe. You believe what? I believe I'll have a ham sandwich. 10 minutes later, I believe I'll have a turkey sandwich. It means nothing until you do it.
No. But my question to you is, imagine Carney would say, because of the so great contribution for our great prime minister, I offer him the job of finance minister, and he stays in the power very close to it, because we all know that since 7 years, it is Carney that is behind, in a sense that he was a CEO of the Bank of England. So they're very close. The Carney is not a new player. He's an old player. He was the CEO of the bank, the Central Bank of Canada. So
Carney is also attached to the Trudeau family and other business ventures.
Then you know, there's a lot of people who are attached to the Trudeau Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So
even Elizabeth May is, right. So
some of them work for Communist China.
Exactly,
right.
But that brings a point that is important. How can Pierre Poilievre challenge this type of structure with a common sense policy? Is it possible? Because he's all the polls shows that he's dropping in the polls. So
he's losing relevance because the clever mouth, right, that he was during COVID and after the mandates, he's run out of steam.
Can I correct you on that? I don't. He was never charismatic. He was never smart. He was never intelligent. It's just everybody was hyper focused on Trudeau.
Yes, but Payman, he speaks well in the House. When you listen to him, he has a nice voice. He presents. He's a handsome man, and he can convince, and he likes to be with people. You have to give him the man credit. He likes to be
give him
with
credit.
people.
Like when he's got a speech that's
compare him to Erin O'Toole, and there's no comparison.
When he's shining, like he does really well, like the Apple one, the how much. But when he gets frustrated, like when he was forced to come out and endorse retaliatory tariffs, his charisma goes away. Like people are like, wait a minute, this guy is a loser. Like look at him right now.
So do you think he performed well when he was prepared?
On the CBC last week, I mentioned this sketch that I never watched that, but when I saw it, and it is Poilievre with two of his member of parliament, and the sketch is very funny. That because you can express yourself correctly, but he flushed them very fast. So I think you're right, Payman. He loses his patience very fast. But he's not the only one. Look at the leader of the bloc. As soon as they're stuck with a hard question, it is Alexandra Lavoie from Rebel News that was asking question to Justin Trudeau. Trudeau refused to answer. She did the same thing with Doug Ford. He refused to answer. She did the same thing with François Legault. He refused to answer. They don't answer. They say even Blanchet from the Bloc. He said, "I don't talk to Rebel News." Wait a second. Even if you don't consider Rebel News as I would say official media, Alexandra Lavoie is still a citizen. You don't talk to citizen?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
What is this attitude? And they're all like that. Huh?
Yes, and that's an important distinction. I'm losing my attachment to a lot of the alternative news media that came up during COVID and the mandates, because I feel them swinging too much into blue supporters and shilling a bit harder than I'd like. But they are still citizens.
They're still citizens, yes.
Right. And though if they wear the the press badge in that professional role, and they're ignored for that, so be it. But as a citizen, they still represent me. Right? That's the purpose of the press. Right? The watchdog of the civilian population, right? So you're right on your very, very important distinction there, and that is ignore them as members of the press because you don't recognize independent media. That just makes you look like a fool or a tyrant. But ignore them as citizens at your own demise.
Andre, it
Right?
seems like we have a poet in the audience. Polyev has the attar of a well-kept and well-drained pustule, one with a sickly sweet smell of its own that can be easily masked with perfume.
Yes, he's right. And there's a varnish. There's a varnish. Politicians, they all have a varnish. They change color a little bit.
Yeah, on Polyev, that's his brill cream. It's
Yes, or this
cream.
Photoshop muscle too.
And the Photoshop muscles.
That's okay. That's okay. The man, he wears contact lenses now. He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any glasses like Michael Ignatieff. He's more charismatic. Of course, that's you can play on that. You can have makeup.
They did the same thing to Stephen Harper though, because Stephen came in very square, very straight, very stiff-collared, very awkward. And then over time, they got him to be a little bit more approachable.
They changed his image. He was more like Preston Manning at the beginning, and then he started to look more like, let's say, a national politician.
Yeah. So I mean, pictures of Polyev like that. He's barely dressed in business attire.
You have to give them also something. All those politicians, even that's why when they are in public office or they are in public places, they have to behave all the time. So it's not. I bullshit. I'm sorry. You can bring your swear jar. I bullshit politicians all the time, but I also have to give them a little bit of credit. Maybe it's not that easy. Maybe I would like to ask. Payment, when you interviewed that young woman who talk harshly with Trudeau in
Emily Dugan. Yeah.
Yes, that's you never know when somebody will arrive. I think it was Jean Chrétien. They throw him a cream pie in the face, but Chrétien fought back. He took. I remember he took somebody by the throat. Somebody arrived in a rally and he started and he immediately took him by the throat. You can Google that and you will see
a Vulcan death grip there.
That was not I would say polite or respectful on both sides. Yeah. So
you got to be careful of those old guys, especially when they're that ugly.
Yeah, well, they didn't call him the little guy from Shawinigan for nothing. Right, he was a scrapper.
Yes, and Polyev, he's from Alberta. He has certain charisma, but I agree, it's a varnish. There's nothing behind. But he's not the only one like that.
No, he's not the only one.
When they are in their environment in the house, they can beat each other, debate, or insult each other, or but when they're in committee, I suppose they are a little bit more serious. I hope. But when they are in facing the media or facing the camera, it's a varnish. We have to understand.
You have to, you can't just stay in your echo chamber. So let's take ourselves. If we're all on X or Spaces, or if the three of us, let's say for the next 6 months, we just bounce ideas off of each other. If we go out in the real world, we're going to get crucified. You talk to some liberals and they're going to come up with all these arguments that you didn't think of. That's what I'm trying to say is happening with Pierre, where because there was so much hatred of Trudeau, every time Pierre ate an apple or he said how much, they elevated this guy. They're like, oh, this guy.
So you're saying he could afford to be myopic?
Well, I'm just saying there was nothing there. Now, the curtain's been pulled and we're just like, wow, this guy sucks.
Payment, the difference.
However, though, even if the shine comes completely off of his apple, the majority of conservative-minded Canadians are going to vote blue anyway. And that's the true crime here, right? You've got these talking heads in Ottawa, busy being professional or busy being whatever they are. The bottom line is the Canadian citizen is not bothering to think for the bulk of them, not bothering to think for themselves and take a risk. Right, because they'd rather vote with the safe thing. The safe thing. There's a lot of innuendo behind everything I say, Wolf. That's part of my charm.
But you mentioned you mentioned something about the varnish, and don't forget that Poiliev is winning now, even if if in the polls he's losing, he's lagging a little bit. He's winning, and he doesn't want to make big mistakes. So he's trying to be careful. Maybe what you mentioned, payment, when he did this statement about after the tariff. Maybe that was a strategic mistake, and he understood it. And this is because if you start to lose, we can still wait 1 year before 1 year and a half before there's an election. We don't know. You can imagine in 1 year and a half that the Liberal would pick up 5, 6, or 7% in the polls, and and you would start to, like Tim said, you would start to be in a coalition zone. Yeah. That could change the game completely. On a national basis.
Yeah, it is in Poilievre's best interest to get into election form, get an election called as soon as possible, because the longer Carney has to sit in the prime minister's chair, the more stable he can focus on making the economy, even if it's shallow, as long as it looks stable. That will bring back trust in the government itself. And if he can do that, then pull off the next miracle will be to make some form of arrangement with Maserati man, because Maserati, he's not really a socialist. He's a capitalist. Look at the Maserati. And if they can make a coalition again, they will stall until next year. And that will give Carney time. That will give Canada time to more water under the bridge. We forget the wounds too quickly. We say we're sorry and we go on our way. And the Liberals will win the election if they goes.
Let me put it a different way. What could possibly happen to stop that, to stall that, to prevent that? Like what calamity is necessary at this point to force an early election to get Pierre in?
The threat of an emergency act.
Oh! You're jumping the gun, Tim.
I know.
Sorry.
No, but no, it is important what you're mentioning. There's one thing that I would like to mention. I don't watch Carney. I don't like the man. I don't like the voice. And I don't care about what he says. But I think in a press conference, a short press conference, he said, wokeism is here to stay. So you have two elements. You have the economical element or the economical conflict, and you have the social conflict. That would wokeism would mean DEI, SOGI. And he said it is here to stay. So it's like he's defying Donald Trump, who's going against the LGBTQ2S and plus and everything narrative since what we have 10 years. So when he's saying this, he's trying to reaffirm his liberal base on a social basis.
Yeah.
On an economical basis, he will not be able to sustain the same agenda, like the carbon tax, the electrical vehicle, no oil and gas development. He will not be able to sustain it because on that domain, Poiliev will beat him. But on the social issues, he's saying that okay, I can go center. I'm at the left. I can go in the center on economical issues, but not on social issues. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it would be a strategy to regain a certain percentage.
Yeah, there are two currents. The undercurrent, the Conservatives agree with, and that's the current social, the current socialist policies, the DEI, the ESG, SOGI, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Accord, all of this wokeness policy that they just spent the last 10 years forcing down our throats is now well embedded into our culture, or at least into the bureaucratic and administrative of our culture. Just look at schools as an example. So all of that's underneath, and Poilievre or the Conservatives are equally responsible. And when they get in they will maintain that. They might put a bit more of a.
Is there a butt coming up? This
There
is
is
just
a
bad.
butt coming up. There is a butt coming up. So the butt is if Carney comes up top, and going my camera's the wrong direction. The Carney comes on top by softening the economic pain that we are experiencing. He already said, cut the carbon tax. They'll just flip it into something else.
Cut or replace it with something else.
Right, or replace. Well, the GST was actually a replacement for the manufacturer's tax.
And it was supposed to be temporary. You
Right,
remember?
and it's supposed to
It's
be temporary.
always temporary.
We all know that.
Right.
Yes.
So if Carney just manages our wallets and takes the pressure off of our wallets, at least even if it's just psychological, or using
psychological relief,
right? So
Economical side, that's a good one,
right? So because people, then they can leave the social undercurrent program, allow it to continue, leave it alone. He doesn't have to focus on it. Just put his energy here. And if he does that, then Poilievre will have he'll have no ammo. He'll have no ammo because right now all of his ammo is financial, and the Conservative Party has no interest in taking us off the woke path. None.
You know, they were talking this week about restarting the LNG project, liquid natural gas in Quebec. And Albertan people, they say, why Quebec is stalling. They don't want to have a pipeline from coast to coast. And even Albertan said, okay, we will go around Quebec. We will go north of United States, and we will go around Quebec. And the leader of the Bloc Québécois, Yves-François Blanchet, says we will never start again the liquid natural gas in Saguenay. And he was contradicting François Legault, who said, oh, maybe that would be good for Quebec. So when the pressure is there economically, but you're right, socially, they will keep this base of this sustainable goal. And all those ideologies that makes the base of a liberal brand.
Yeah, WEF is happy with our progress on social reform.
We are very good. You can. We were laughing stock everywhere in the planet.
Yeah.
Tim, you're up next, but let's move on. You recommended this one, Maxime Bernier's list of things to do. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, sure. This is prior to the letters or the capitulation.
I like that term.
Prior to I should call it the genuflection.
The Christian
right?
reference.
Get all the Catholics excited. Maxime Bernier put out a rather long post on social media saying, "This is what." He wasn't even saying this is what we would do if we were in power, saying this is the common sense approach.
This is what should be done. Right?
That should be done. So this is actually Bernier stepping away from the rhetoric, of the previous few months and actually stepping back into his role as a diplomatic individual, all right, and saying that's
a good move. That's a good move.
And that's a smart move, and it was the right move. And so he put that out, and people going, and even conservative people who refuse to vote purple because he can't even get his own seat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're saying this is what we should be hearing from the Conservative Party, and we are not. So he posted that. The day after, he put a bullet list of a very tall range of products that were involved in such a process. So he puts this out, which was a very, very. The timing was brilliant. The diplomacy in it was good, and he wasn't tooting his own horn. He wasn't bragging up the party. He was just talking policy. So it was a very Adam Smith moment in that sense, right? And that was remarkably good. That makes no waves in the news because the party's being shadow banned or whatever, right? Surprisingly low number of Canadians know who the People's Party candidate is anyway, so it doesn't really make any waves. The day after, the Mexican president writes an open letter to Trump, and it's brilliant. You got it?
Yeah. Do you want me to read it in English or Spanish?
In Spanish.
Sí.
I'm
Hola, ¿cómo estás? No, I'm not going to read it, but yeah, sure.
I'll just throw it up on screen.
It's on. Oh, sorry.
You,
Man, I've been clicking away like mad, man.
we'll have to fire you if you continue like this.
But basically, the
Or to
things
punish
that matter.
you.
Principal source of income.
So and like I do with writing and with coaching, I say if you're going to write something, you have to capture them in your thesis sentence, and you have to convert them in your closing paragraph, your conclusion. And she does that. Her very first sentence: we categorically reject. We, meaning all of them, categorically reject. Very strong language. Slander against the government, alliances with criminal organizations, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very strong. Very, very good. And then closing, we don't want confrontation. We start from collaboration. Well, it's not closing. There's more to it.
Alliance.
I instruct the Secretary of Economy to implement Plan B that we have been working on. So she's saying, we've already been planning to do this. So cool your jets, Mr. Trump, right? Yeah, nothing by force, everything by reason and right. A brilliant piece of work that she and her committee put together. And it motivated because Trump got his office to call her immediately.
I would have a question
There
about
it
this.
is.
I would have a question about this letter. Okay, we will implement immediately Plan B. What's the plan
Yeah.
A?
Right. Well,
Do nothing?
Plan A was continue as we have with
Resign.
Mexican cartels,
Come on.
the ones that she denied she had any involvement with. Right.
That's why I asked the question, because if that would be interesting to know the plan. If you would have an intelligent journalist who would say, Madam President, what was the plan A? The man is
usually dead. Plan B is what you take when you had unprotected sex and you don't want a baby. So who knows?
Oh boy, that's a slippery slope.
Right?
When I had my own company, and every time I talked to my staff, I just tell myself, like, don't use the phrase Plan B. Go Plan A, Plan C. Right? They go uncontrollably.
Yeah, it's like in a hotel. You have a floor 12, and floor 14.
That's right.
Floor 13.
Certain things are bad luck. Yeah. So you look at point 1, 2, and 3. When Trudeau sends genuflex, bends the knee to Trump, the next day. That's how quickly Trudeau turned, because and you'll see that he's using almost exactly the same numbers and almost exactly the same phraseology, with the exception of this nonsense phrase fentanyl czar.
Well, in Russia they're laughing. They're laughing at Canada and United States because they use the word czar.
Yes, you know what I think?
Cannot imagine how they laugh.
Yeah, so I think this is a psychological barb. This is Justin throwing it back. I think somewhere in Trudeau and Trump's conversation, Trump is going on. He's ranting about one, and he says, "And the czar," or whatever it is you call up there. I don't know those French words. And so this is Trudeau throwing it back in his face. Because the phrase fentanyl czar is not consistent with the rest of his language. That means it's an injection. And being an injection, the object or his motivation, I think, is sticking it back in Trump's face for assuming it's a French word.
Justin Trudeau, give him something relevant, and he will turn it into shit.
Right.
Now, what I have a question about the two declarations: 10,000 troops.
I saw that.
In Mexico, and 10,000 troops in Canada. So maybe you just go and see the cartel, and you say, okay, we will give you Kalashnikov, and now you will defend the border. It goes fast. Right. They're already there.
Yeah, they're already there.
So it's like in Syria, they started to rename the opposition that was ISIS. Oh, now they are democratic politicians. You can put a nice suit on a pig. Huh?
Didn't that happen in? I have to pause to appreciate this clip.
The speed with which the president of Mexico bent the knee. I mean,
Yes.
everybody expected it from Trudeau. He doesn't have a spine.
Well,
Yeah.
no. Trudeau is bending the knees like exactly like the
Smith asked for
the
borders are
NFL
self-governed.
player. When the NFL player were bending the knees in front of BLM, we have to. How do you say this
No,
in
but
English?
I mean, like,
Well,
You know,
that's
Trudeau
not,
is the international clown. Like, everyone expects him to, come out with the red nose and the wacky hair. But this woman, the president of Mexico, is a respectable human being.
is she?
Well, more so compared to Trudeau. She's
Well,
more.
no, you
well,
cannot
we
compare
don't
to
know because
Trudeau.
we're not
You
Mexican,
cannot
right?
compare to
We
Trudeau.
don't. We don't. All what I understand is the threat of tariffs from 2 importers was enough to generate a public response from the state leaders of 2 nations.
You call this
That shows you how quickly they panic and how truly afraid they are of the United States when the United States says, "I've had enough." These are uneducated people who don't understand the facts. The facts are, you're going to put a tariff on my stuff. That's fine. Canada's been working on adding to its trade partnerships for the last 30 years, right? Would it be hard for us to shift to another trade partner? Yes and no, right? But that's not like we could do it overnight, because you couldn't.
Well, 70% of the export are
And I can appreciate that. That's right.
the
Yeah.
United States. So
And-
you cannot change industrial process in.
And I appreciate that, but the amount of material moving into the States will not be shut off like I can go into the kitchen and turn off my tap. Because
no, you will just generate 5, 6.
Right? When I was managing the small company in Vancouver, we did purchasing on blanket orders. So
90 days.
We were guaranteed delivery for an entire year, calendar year. We were guaranteed delivery, right?
Guys,
so even applying a tariff would not stop an American company from continuing to receive goods that a Canadian exporter sends on blanket order. It can't be done.
Can we go to the audience questions? There's 2 good ones. Let's go Andre and then Tim. With the Northwest Passage opening up, it would make sense to have the pipeline go to Hudson's Bay. You're from Quebec. Your province is anti-oil. What are your thoughts?
The province is not anti-oil. I would say the political elite that is manipulated is because they are a proxy of the World Economic Forum. The population in Quebec is manipulated, and yes, the Northwest Passage would be a good opportunity to develop the Arctic.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, I will talk about hydroelectricity, but Hydro-Quebec is in James Bay. And for many years, Hydro-Quebec had a project to develop the Angava Bay. They had a real great Grand Baleine, big whale, the top, that is about 400 kilometers up north. They were supposed to develop 4 hydraulic power plants. They never did it because I think there was no political leadership. But yes, it would be a good thing. Anyway, the Arctic, one day they will go there. Trump talked about Greenland, but all the Arctic, which is supposed to be Canadian sovereignty, and with a border with China, with Russia. Let's never forget that. Russia, they have bases in the Arctic, and they have a harbor in the Arctic, and they are there since 25, 30 years. So yes, I understand United States saying maybe if we have a bigger alliance, maybe Trump is not very diplomatic when he's acting. He's acting with impulse, but it works because you can see the panic and the hysteria, like Tim mentioned in Canada. We act emotionally instead of saying, okay, the tariff are there. There's a problem. Let's meet and discuss. Let's say you have a summit between the president of Mexico, the president of the United States, and the which prime minister you want to choose, Carney, Trudeau, or I don't know, maybe Chrystia Freeland now, because we never know who will be there in 1 month. That's the problem. I have the feeling that Trudeau and Trump says, I don't trust Trudeau. Even I'm sure he talked to him this week, but he doesn't trust him, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't like Carney, because Carney represents the global agenda. So there's a big conflict there, and diplomatically speaking, may I say Trump is not a real diplomat, but he doesn't have the choice. He has to speak to somebody, and he could not say, I will propose a summit, American summit, Mexican president, United States, and he could say, we will settle things together. He cannot, because he says, well, will you fix your political problem in Canada? That we have a very serious problem now in Canada.
Tim, what are your thoughts on this? I'll bring up his next question too.
The idea of using the Northwest Passage, we've talked about this 2 or 3 times in previous episodes. I am very, very in favor of the idea. It came up a little bit before Harper, but he talked about it a fair bit, and that was 3 deep water ports along the Northwest Passage. One would be on the inside of Baffin Island near the northern tip of Labrador, because that's the pinch point into the passage. And another would be in Nunavut, more toward the tip of Hudson's Bay on the western tip. And another one will be closer to Yukon and Alaska region for relationships and logistics with the American Navy. Yeah.
Yes, that's good.
So this was the chatter back then, but it never really became anything, in spite of the fact, what you got to bring up is, okay, so follow along. So let's look at Winnipeg. So let's say we had a pipeline that ran Edmonton down to Calgary and then due east, Winnipeg, crossing into, and then going up to, I guess, Thompson, because Thompson,
I don't know where that is.
It's just under the word Manitoba. Keep going north.
Yes, a little bit more up. Yes.
Thompson is a nickel community with an airport. It's a nickel mine with an airport. And then you go straight to that small harbor on James Bay. You're done.
It's interesting what you're mentioning. I can refer to the Nord Stream 2 in the Baltic Sea, and how they would cross the Hudson Bay. Yes, they can do it. But you mentioned something important. Harbor, airport, logistic. If you don't have logistic, it will take you 5 years to develop only the logistic before you will even start the pipeline.
Yes.
So that's why they were always preferring a south way, because if they go up north, they will have to develop all the infrastructure that are not there.
And Thompson is the perfect jumping off point. So yes, you would have to dig from southern Manitoba straight up to Thompson, but it's 200 miles from Thompson to the Atlantic Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, same thing, right? And so then from that bay, just off Thompson and James Bay, you're just going straight up into the passage, and then eastward toward Baffin Island. And then the inside of Baffin Island is where the other deep water port is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So
I'm gonna illustrate my poor understanding of the geography. Where's Baffin Island?
Zoom out. Okay, now and see that long island running northwest to southeast, north up. Yeah,
just yes.
That one. That's Baffin Island. Wow, right, and there are Canadian and American bases there. Greenland's right next door. You see that small harbor on Greenland?
Yes, it's over there. Right? Yes,
in that region, there's American bases right there.
Payment you interviewed. I don't know his name. I don't remember his name. Marty North. I think you
Marty up north. Yeah.
And he's a specialist in gas and oil industry, and I think he referred one time with the stock of gas, potential stock of gas. Yeah. So that would be interesting to have. What are the potential of gas? Forget about oil, just natural gas in
Yes.
Canada, because
Yes.
Greenland, they have a good potential. And then you can say, okay, what are the potential gas stock? And then what type of infrastructure we already have to develop that? Because you have to be able to supply the material to build the pipeline. You need the infrastructure.
I'm looking for military bases. I don't see anything.
You will not see it.
No, you're not going to see it.
But the idea, if you have a plan to do
zoom in,
good
zoom way in,
development.
zoom. No, that's the wrong direction. Zoom way in, more. Wait. There, just offshore. More. Zoom in more. So now go up, go to the water. Move out to the water.
Submarines.
A little bit darker. There, you zoom in. There. See the words 225 Google. Right under that 0 are 2 newfies sharing a shotgun in a dinghy. That's the Canadian Navy.
But you know,
Our biggest ship.
You think about you talk about Hudson Bay, and why I referred to the project Grand Baleine it was in 1995 at Harry Quebec. I worked on that project and we were ready to propose this to the government. And it was about, if I remember, they would produce close to 5,000 megawatt of power, which is the level of power of the Churchill Falls, the first. So it was a big plant with 3 power plants, and they never did it because they just finished the James Bay, and they said, okay, we have enough power. We have enough energy for the consumption of Quebec. And at the time, the market were not open. But after that, in 1998, when they opened the market to gross market, they started to export a lot. So they said, okay, maybe we should revive this project. They never did it. But if you need to be able to, if you want to build a good pipeline, something that is, and you will have a huge amount of energy that you need infrastructure. You cannot build this in 1 year. You can propose it. You can propose a project. You need private investment because private investors, what they will say, can you secure the project? I will put $15 billion in the project, but what are the goals in 10 or 15 years? You know, oil company now, they don't invest in exploration. Why? Because the tendency was to climate change. We will get rid of what we call fossil fuel. And now they say, okay, we reached the peak oil. We did not reach the peak oil. We reached the peak oil because companies, they do not do exploration anymore. They do not want to invest $50 billion if there's no way, there's no guarantee on revenue.
Yes.
And it takes 15 years to do this.
Yes.
So you would want to change the policy tomorrow, and you would say, okay, forget about climate change. It's a hoax. It doesn't exist, or it is not man-made. It does not... fuel is not fossil fuel, it's natural resource, and it will take 10 years to implement something. 10 years minimum. And I would like to ask Payman you could ask maybe Martin, what's his name? I forgot. He's a specialist in that. He could explain this very well.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah. Just as a very quick aside, if the prairie provinces wanted to secede from the union, not a union, confederation, all Alberta has to do is drive a pipeline straight south into the States, wherever they put it, that's up to them. Drive a pipeline straight over to Vancouver Harbor or Prince Rupert, and drive a pipeline over to Thompson and up to James Bay. And from those pipelines alone, those 3 provinces would become financially independent.
But there's one thing you're mentioning. They do that. They break the confederation, and I can guarantee you, in Quebec collapses because you cut the valve. No more $13.8 billion per year. That's enough. You don't pay.
That would be Plan B.
Plan B. No, but I made it. People in Quebec are not aware. They think that, for example, we develop hydroelectricity here and we're self-sufficient. We are not. We are
And
not.
it's not because you can't be, it's because they've chosen not to be.
They've chosen not to do it.
Right.
Exactly. So,
and Alberta, BC, all the provinces have within themselves, on their own land, above it or on it or near it, the ability to be self-sufficient. And they have sacrificed it for what? What? I at this point in time, I no longer even know what.
Now, when I say this, it's a personal opinion. I cannot even talk for Quebecers because they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed.
Well, there goes our Quebec viewer.
Well, like I said, I'm sorry. Like I said,
now
and
your
I
wife's
say
not
it,
even watching
I
anymore.
say it,
That's
and you
100% of our viewership, Tim.
and you can quote me on that. I'm not Quebecer since 2022. I'm French Canadian.
Right.
That's a statement, and you can quote me on that.
Yeah.
Anytime. I will take anybody like this.
I don't think
Smith
I've ever
asked
referred to
what
myself as a
borders
British
are.
Columbian.
Smith asking for a
Quebec,
border.
in Quebec, they do. Huh?
Yeah. Is her sticking her finger in Trudeau's face and say, "Do your job"? Because border control is not provincial; it's federal.
It's federal. It's federal.
Yeah, and so him passing it off onto the individual provinces to manage their border or their section of the border.
Well, it showed.
And her using the word czar is making fun of his use of the word fentanyl czar.
Yeah, that's for the first thing. And then Danielle Smith, I think she just shows that she doesn't respect his
that's right,
political status. She does not respect. She respects the function of the prime minister, but Trudeau forget it.
The individual.
The individual.
Yeah. Abiotic oil. There's another conversation we should have one day.
We will have. Yes, abiotic oil. I never refer to oil as a fossil fuel.
Yeah.
I can challenge a lot of people on that.
Yeah.
Before opening that can of worms, I think we have one other issue. Sorry. So this picture that we showed earlier, Mark Carney, in case of emergency, that he's using a lot of incendiary language. Like he said that it's a crisis that Donald Trump has caused. I heard this again today from, I think it was the governor of the Bank of Canada, who said that if there is
what's his name? I forgot.
It's got like a weird girly name.
Yes. Well, I told you about estrogen in water. Huh?
Sorry, Tim. It's a very girly name. He said that if we have a crisis in Canada, it's Donald Trump's fault. So,
wow,
everything is Donald Trump's fault.
Hilarious.
Vladimir Putin stopped the pandemic. They have so great power. It's incredible. Trump has immense power. They're jealous. Huh? They're jealous of their power.
Well, I think what I was trying to get at, and I know the three of us agree with this. Is he going to invoke the Emergency Measures Act in order to prolong?
He's not prime minister. This is what gets my goat. This is what gets my goat. The man is not prime minister. Stop talking policy, fool. Get out of my TV. I don't have a TV, but why are we permitting this pundit, overpaid pundit, from standing in front of a camera and talking like he's already the prime minister?
Well, he maybe de facto he is. There was two events. One in Quebec last week when he was there with elderly people shaking hands, and people were saying, "Oh, what a nice man he is! How well he is dressed." That's the first thing. The second thing is when he brought pizza to people. And
so
a populist gesture.
So he's doing the Gen X thing.
Yes. It works. Why he wouldn't do it? It works.
I want pizza.
Yes, the city of London is not happy.
We know that. Tiff as in Tiffany?
Tiff Macklin? Is that the guy's name?
Yes, Tiff.
Yeah, I thought first of all, I thought it was a picture compression format. Beyond that, it's a girl's name.
Maybe it is.
Right? Tiffany. I think Tiffany used to be a guy's name.
This man, they don't have any charisma. Huh? they are transparent. When you listen to him when he's announcing a cut in the interest rate, you look at this, you say, damn, put a sexy woman there, maybe it will have
I was gonna say, like, I hope he's not this bad in bed. I feel sorry for his wife.
Oh. But the Emergency Act, Tim,
You mean
what do you
his
think?
fourth wife, 16th wife?
Do you think
Money helps.
the Emergency Act will be that was how what would be the trigger for the Emergency Act?
If he becomes prime minister.
Only that?
Yeah, but I think what Andre's asking is what would be like the spark. I would say some
me too.
financial crisis.
I mean what I said. He becomes prime minister.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
he's not going to invoke prime minister. He's like, gentlemen, I have bad news. I'm prime minister, so I'm invoking the EMA.
The Trudeau
because
did.
the Emergency Act.
Trudeau was afraid of 50,000 people waving Canadian flags outside the Parliament.
Okay, you know that before, when Pierre Trudeau father evoked that in 1917, the October crisis, it was the War Measure Act.
That's correct.
So it is an act of war. They called it terrorist. They said at the time there's an insurrection in Quebec. So now when they changed the definition or the name,
soften the language.
They softened the language with the Emergency Act. You have to declare an emergency. That could mean a martial law. If there's an emergency, you know, during what they call the pandemic, they were sending the army in elderly houses because there was a crisis. Yeah. Imagine if he arrives and he says, "Okay, we will evoke the Emergency Act, and by the way, we will vote a martial law,
right?
Suspending civil liberty. Why not?
Already tested it. No movement. No
movement, curfew, quarantine. We could be advisor. We could be senior advisor in Quebec because we did it for practically 1.5 years.
Right. So it's already been tested various ways and measures across Canada.
Why not?
Which means they already have the ability to do it again.
They have all the process.
But they need a reason. They need a reason.
No, they don't.
Yeah, that's my question. What would be the
They
reason?
need an excuse, a BS argument.
So what, according to you, gentlemen, what would be their excuse?
The economy implodes, currency goes down, the tariffs destroy industry, auto industry pulls out.
Good. Tim?
So you think it'd be an economic trigger?
I stole all the good ones.
Yeah, you did, bastard. All the good ones.
Yeah, I think it would be economic.
They need a pretense, but how heavy does the pretense have to be to con enough of the Canadian people to just bend the knee again? We've already been trained.
Well, it's got to be something, like, even if it's not real, white supremacy, Romulans in orbit.
When they changed the title from Emergency Act or War Measure Act.
Yes.
If tomorrow we would be aggressed by a foreign country militarily, you would evoke the Emergency Act. But like you said, Payman, the best thing that would happen to evoke this act would be an economical war. If Carney arrives and says Trump is doing an economical war against Canada, and I go back to the title, tariff, what we were saying, protect, punish, and protest.
Yeah.
Maybe Carney will say, wait, we are attacked economically, so we declare the Emergency Act.
So, and this is the beauty of renaming the War Measures Act, which is a self-restricting definition.
Yes.
Right? Because the War Measures Act identifies its parameters. It has to be an act, but an Emergency Measures Act is much broader, much more vague.
Yes.
Because the word emergency itself, that word actually changes culturally as well as factually.
Like demonstrably justified.
There you go. Right. Demonstrably. Where the fathers were understood what they meant with the term demonstrably, but the criteria by which something is considered acceptable these days has shifted. So demonstrably becomes a different, it's more fluid.
And you know what would happen? He would outperformed Pierre Polyev. Carney
Yes.
would out because he would say, wait a second, if you don't see it as a economical war, you're not a true patriot. I'm defending Canada, and he would force probably the conservative to vote with them on an act because they still have to vote.
Yeah. So
Theoretically.
Yeah. Wolf made an interesting comment there in terms of cult of personality. So and here we enter into the power of the cult of personality, right? Where Trudeau's early power of the cult of personality was the man with the nice hair, right? And
rainbow shirt,
swooning over that personality that he cultivated. Carney doesn't have a personality. So how do we turn that, right? So now he has to be redressed into something where people will consider him to be worthy to follow. And even he could change this. I mean, I suppose if I was going to, rather that he intentionally takes on the what's the right word? Stereotype that he appears to be, right? Because he appears to be the near retirement businessman, right? Multi whatever. He appears to be that.
No.
I
have the perfect stereotype. Bring back the picture of Mr. Carney.
Sure, give me
an axe wielder.
Axe. Because Tim, many times you mentioned something. You said he looks like Sean Connery.
Looks like
so
Connery.
Imagine you arrive with Sean Carney.
Sean Carney.
And he's like, okay, he's the
mustache.
spy, but the spy of the MI6 in Canada, which would be the
spy of the city of London.
And he would be the savior, the new savior of Canada. So Sean Carney.
Then he's the one who's going. Okay, so then what? All right, here let's play on this. He will act the tax.
Yeah, yes, he will hack the Shining. Yes, but don't forget. You have The Shining, but you also have Hitchcock. And Hitchcock, what was Hitchcock doing? He was not showing the murder. He was showing the intent. And the woman in the shower with the knife. He just shows the knife tearing down the curtain, and you see the face of the woman. You never see blood.
No.
So he will arrive at the same type of scenario.
So now, if we can only get interest rates,
more like, was it? I'm gonna forget the actor's name again. Jimmy Stewart.
James Stewart.
If we can get him to look like James Stewart and then put an axe in his hand,
well,
be like Vertigo, but not.
Yes, like Vertigo, but you see, he looks like Sean Connery.
Yes,
Sean Connery is an icon. So
an icon, yes, could play it. Yeah.
You just need a good watch.
Yeah.
But
like I said, I agree with the idea that whatever he does that will endear him to Canadians will be of an economic nature.
Yes, he could borrow the Rolex of Jack Meeting.
You could probably talk it right off his hand.
Yes, that's the other one. Right. Yeah. That's the other. But that's why I refer to this stereotype.
You got the sweater.
You need they need somebody. They need a stereotype to rebrand the Liberal Party.
Yes, and he's not.
There's a lot of people who will associate Canada with James Bond because it's the Great Britain Empire we were calling still his.
Yeah. Not your best work, Wolf. Come on.
Macron. No, that's not good. Come on, Macron Carney.
He kind of looks like the father from Malcolm in the Middle.
No,
Macron he looks Carney, like that father from Modern Family.
That's
that's the one. That's the one. Modern Family. Yeah. There's an axe murderer if I ever saw one.
So that's the problem we will see now is when is the leadership race? When is it finishing? End of February? March?
What do they say?
March
There's a limit, right?
the
For
day before
spring.
the end of prorogue. How close
Oh,
is the
yes.
how
It's
close is
March
the
20.
election to closing date?
Prorogue was 3 months. Is that how it works?
Prorogue is over March 24.
March 24. Yes.
Right. So that if they don't have him seated, well, they still haven't had the internal election yet. Needs Mark Bundy. Needs to be before. Put some glasses. Get him some air. Was it oh my goodness, the pilot glasses. Ray-Bans.
Aviators?
Ray-Ban.
Aviators. Sorry, aviators. Right.
I
But
think
you
we're
know,
drifting here.
If he
we're drifting
wins
since the beginning.
the Liberal Party election before March 24, then prorogue will close or will end, and we'll go back to government with Carney as a new prime minister.
Not elected.
But I mean, this all assumes that there's this election thing is above board. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion that Carney's going to be.
How many times has
installed.
it happened in Canada? Lots.
No, yeah, but this doesn't
Right.
seem democratic. This seems like
It
Christian
doesn't matter.
time.
When did it ever have to be democratic? We accepted it generations ago. We
I
accepted
mean,
it.
my window of understanding, like my understanding of politics, goes back to 2020. So I
Right.
won't deny you that.
Yeah.
But I
But
just
that's
looking at this,
more long than most Canadian.
What? Yeah, that's true. But
Right.
what the phrase to use is a shoe-in. Like this guy he's gonna get in. I
Yes.
think everything
Yes,
else
he
is
will.
just
Yes, he will.
for sure.
He will, because everybody else is being locked out or repressed.
They're
You know,
just
the
hoping
question-
that
the
he'll win
question-
legitimately. They don't have to steal it.
But
The
he is going to
question-
win it legitimately, because no one will be able to prove that he stole it.
You know what
He's
will
the heir-
happen?
He is the
what-
heir apparent for the Liberal Party of Canada. He's likely to be the only one with a calm enough head to herd all of those cats in the Liberal Party and get them all sorted out again and ready for another election.
Go ahead,
Well,
Andre.
first of all, he will be if he's elected. Somebody will leave his seats. He will go in a by-election, a seat that is safe for the Liberal. So he will be elected quite fast. They will call a by-election, and then after that, they will continue to dance. Jagmeet
Who's going
Singh.
to take Trudeau's seat? He'll take Trudeau's district.
No, Trudeau his seat is in jeopardy in Papineau. He's lagging the Conservative and the NDP. So no, they will take somebody out, somebody that is not burnt, and they will just remove them. Why I say this? It's because after that you will see Jagmeet Singh, you will see the Bloc. Forget about Elizabeth May; she doesn't count. They will continue to block.
Count. 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila,
Yes,
4.
yes, they will
Alcoholics
continue.
have feelings too, Andre.
They will continue to block, or they will continue to play the game of coalition for a couple of weeks or months until
Right.
the Liberal will stabilize their base and they will start to attack Poilievre.
Yeah.
Because Poilievre will not change his narrative. He cannot. But if they say, we rebrain the carbon tax, we change some of our economical policies, we loosen up the noose a little bit, and we start to regain a certain credibility, they could start, like you said, Tim, they could start to challenge the majority of the Conservative if there's a good an election.
Yeah. If they can brand back towards center, doesn't mean they have to do it politically or
No.
policy-wise.
You
But they
understood?
can
Yes.
brand back towards center, then the Liberals that have been moving into the blues will come back home.
Yeah.
And when you said payment, people, your understanding of politics is 4 years or 5 years, 2020. People will forget very fast. A couple of economical initiative. You know, the Coalition Avenir Québec in 2022 won a major majority with 90 seats. They were having 67 seats before, and they were re-elected. Why? Because they sent $500 to every Quebecers 4 weeks before the election.
They should do it like The Price is Right. The opposition will send $501.
Well, you know, they can buy the vote easily. If, like Tim said, they can just promise something, show that they will do it, doesn't mean that they will.
Yeah.
And
No,
they
yeah,
will.
that's welcome to the election campaign. We promise to give you this and this and this and that, and there's no legal obligation. There's no criteria by
No,
which they can
they're
be
not
held
accountable.
for making these promises.
They're
None.
not accountable.
And
And
the people always drink that Kool-Aid.
the only thing that could change and that would put pressure on a system like this would be the People's Party, because if they would be able to challenge the establishment on ideas, which is difficult even in the debate, and now Maxime Bernier is excluded, but imagine if he would arrive, most probably they would play the game where they would do the same thing that they did in 2019. I think they would attack him,
right?
Because they would have a coalition, an unofficial coalition.
Yes.
Could you imagine if they let Max into the debates? That is like going into the, I don't know, dragon's den. It's just, he's trying to talk common sense, and you have these screeching lunatics. Climate change is real. What are you talking?
Yes.
And he's got maybe like 15 seconds to make his argument.
And forget.
He doesn't make his argument. He just ignores them and just talks straight at the camera.
Exactly. That's a
right.
good communication strategy.
The advantage. I don't think the leadership debate means jack. I think hyper focusing on getting into leadership debate is a strategic mistake. You got 343 candidates. Elevate them. Local activity. Expand on your concept of grassroots. Activate the base nationwide. And then when they're all getting exposure, you don't have to lean on one big happy explosion. But the advantage of the leadership debate is to ignore the SOBs beside you and talk straight into the camera.
You are referring to the player of Dostoevsky. You bet your last dollar on everything because you have nothing else to lose. That's a very bad. You can win. And Dostoevsky, he wins a huge amount of money, and after that, he's afraid. The player is afraid to walk down the street with all this gold because he's afraid that he will be robbed. But the idea, I think you nailed it, Tim.
Yeah.
343 candidates who would have a good exposure.
Yeah.
That you have a good army with a good general. And yes, the debate has a communication value. But that's value.
But it only has value in that someone else has paid to put a camera on you for an hour.
Exactly.
That's the value. The value is somebody gave you a fourth wall to 20 million Canadians.
Yes.
Right. So you what's Bueller. Ferris Bueller. You Ferris Bueller the entire event. You hijack it entirely. Right. Every time one of them asks you or gets noisy or makes it, ignore the desire to retort, because it's not a level playing field. Like you said, all five of them are going to gang up on you, right? Because you are the threat to the status quo.
7 if you count the moderators.
Right?
So no,
there's CBC though. They've been necroed since the late 80s.
It's much easier than that. You ask hackers to hack the CBC when they will host the debate. And instead of seeing this, this is a special built-in of information. We will have somebody who will talk to you, and you talk to 25 million Canadian. You know,
Maxime Bernier with his sweater and he's got his pipe. Yeah.
You ignore not a gray sweater though. You ignore everybody. And every time the camera comes to you, every time any question comes to you, look straight into the camera and deliver your own message.
Yes, that's the only thing you can do, and you count on your army.
And the media will go insane, and they will repost you and repost you and repost you. This man has no respect for the process, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, 20 million Canadians suddenly know who you are.
Yes.
It's advertisement.
I didn't get the reference about the
I don't know. I thought one of you guys.
I've heard the reference. I've heard the reference. I don't recall.
Payment. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't. Wolf,
he can.
I don't know.
Payment,
Talk to me
payment,
like I'm a child.
payment.
must be
Add a
him.
political scandal in 1990. I would doubt it.
Those pictures there, I was going through financial
Pictures were
issues.
supposed to be expunged.
They told me they'd blur out my face.
All right.
So it will be the next
Yes,
few
at the
weeks will
restaurant.
be
Exactly that.
the next few weeks will be interesting.
The next few years.
So, if
Gear up,
Carney gets in,
payment.
if
Gear
Carney
up.
gets in
You
and
know-
Trudeau continues, Trudeau
You know
John-
Gatorade. You know Gatorade.
Of course.
Pretends
So,
Red-
or
he gets
Red
seats.
Bull, Red Bull,
Red
a
Bull.
couple of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Because
If Carney gets in and Trump starts applying because the 30 days has passed,
it
and we
will be
haven't
what
had-
March
we haven't-
1st.
if Canada has not satisfied Trump's 30-day requirement and Trump applies again, he will be more severe the next time, right? And in which case Carney will be prime minister by that time. By Easter, you could get the Emergencies Act.
Tim, what the hell's what's going on in your apartment? Like, what's with the lighting?
Oh, that's the sun setting. Does it look like
Is
my
it the-
prison bars?
He's fading. He's fading.
Looks like
It looks
prison
like
bars.
you're underneath through like a sewer grate or something. Are you
Oh,
under?
my living room window is right there. So that's facing south, and we're in Canada and it's winter, so the sun is like
Very
down
low. Very low.
all the
Mhm.
time. Why are you hassling me, man?
It's good. You have that Blade Runner effect. It looks
Oh, it's
That's good. I like it.
So this
I
is
like it.
like I need some neon now, right? Get the cyberpunk thing
Exactly.
happening properly.
Yeah.
I'm in a hive city. Yeah. I live in a van down by the river. This is just very elaborate green screen. All right. I'm out of juice.
Yeah.
Any-
yeah. Should
Any
end
more
this.
topics?
No, there's no more topics for this
No,
week.
that's
Surprising.
Oh well, can you pull up the poll? I dropped a poll into our channel from
Telegram channel?
The last one was Ipsos, huh?
the Ipsos one from the first.
Yeah, let me figure this.
1st of February. Yes. I saw.
It's while we're making noise about the People's Party of Canada, I want to remind anybody who's interested that according to this poll, the People's Party of Canada is neck and neck with the Green Party.
3%. Yes.
3 and 3.
Depending, what I was checking too was I was checking the male voting and the female voting. And male voting was at 2 and female was at 5.
Really?
Yes. And I was looking at age. So 19,
Sorry,
13,
did you say women vote for the PPC more than men?
5%. And with this poll, I checked, and the people, the young generation between 19 and 25, they were voting 3%, 2%. The 25-45 was voting around 3%, and the people who were over 45 were voting 5%. So it's quite fascinating when we were talking about how you have a strategy to target a younger generation to entice them to vote.
Yes.
It shows that the older generation are more, like you said, payment a little bit more aware politically, and younger generation, why they don't target them? Because they are the lowest category. Younger generation and men.
I wonder if I have a black and white, like if I could grayscale my screen, I'd look like I was in film noir.
All right, guys, focus. I will end the stream abruptly. Are you talking about this one or the one before?
No, this is the one.
This one. It's this one.
This is the one. So we're and get a load of this. In spite of us being tied with the Greens, they continue to list us at the bottom.
No, now the PPC is over
And the block is
above.
and the block is wow.
But
And the Reds are at the top.
Psychologically speaking, now you see the PPC that is in what 1, 2, 3, 5th place instead of being last. So
sharing
psychologically
different-
speaking,
Yeah.
they could have put the green ahead.
Yes.
Why?
Yeah,
That's
we're in the top
top 5.
80 percentile. That's how it works.
You're in the top 5.
Yeah.
So that's psychologically speaking, when you present a graph like this, it can have an impact.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would
it was,
not compare this with this ICOS poll of last week, which was completely stupid. The liberal were practically neck to
6%.
yes, that was not was it? I think it was 38, 32 or something
So
like
you
that.
were remarking that we could probably end up with a block
Coalition.
as opposition, official opposition.
Yes, because
would
of the
be
number
scary.
of seats. Because of
Yeah.
the number of seats.
Yeah, that would be remarkable.
Well, it would be another. Maybe we would need a demilitarized zone.
Well, I was
after
going to say
that.
if they
April,
became
North Korea.
official opposition, then I'd be okay with the Emergencies Act.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective. That is
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I
That's it.
am completely out of steam. Not that I was very energetic the entire episode.
You're just busy herding the cats. That's all.
There's a lot of cats out there. They need
Yeah.
herding.
A lot of cats. It's that time of year. The rut is on.
I don't know. Let's
Thinking
get
of
the last
Plan
word.
B.
Wrap it up, Tim. Wrap it up, Tim.
Yeah. Wrap it up, Tim. Make sure you get us completely canceled. Go ahead.
Okay, getting completely canceled. Reminding everybody again, you want to fix this? Yes, find your party. Yes, find your policies. Yes, do the voting thing. Yes, be evangelical about the things you believe in. Evangelical is the right word. But more importantly, become involved in your local community. Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, Kiwanis, Chamber of Commerce, your churches, your golf clubs, curling clubs. Somebody in Saskatchewan still curls, right? So get involved in these levels, and this is where you make your relationships. This is where you make the difference. Don't let the government do your governing for you. You do this yourself. Become involved in your school district. School district, your school board. Become involved in town hall. Become involved in the bureaucratic layer of your regional organizations, regional government bodies, provincial and federal. Become involved in these things, because this is the way to turn it around, not to show up with your ex every 4 years, because we do that, they win.
You said curling, and I started daydreaming there. I would rather be curling right now.
Would rather be curling. Hurry hard.
My name is Andrew Meloche, and I approve this message.
Oh, so we have the CBC. We just sign off. Boo, 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 boo.
We don't have the budget for it. So.
Radio Canada.
All right, guys. Until next week.
Enjoy your evening.
Have a good weekend.